Millionaire fell in love with the black waitress and promised to buy her anything she wanted. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from today. The rich man bought the diner so he could be close to her, but when she found out, she thought he was trying to control her. The smell of fresh coffee and yummy bacon filled the air as Isla Hawthorne cleaned the counter at the Sunrise Diner. She had wiped that counter so many times that morning. It was like a habit now. She had worked at the small diner in the middle of Portland, Oregon for many years. The little bell on the door rang. Someone had come in. Isla looked up. A man she had never seen before walked in. He was tall, wearing nice clothes, and had a shiny watch that looked very expensive. Maybe it cost more than what Isla made in one whole year. He didn't really look like he belonged in a small, cozy place like this. "Good morning," Ella said with a kind smile. "Sit anywhere you like. I'll bring you a menu." The man nodded and sat at a table near the window. He looked around the diner carefully, from the old walls to the scratched tables. His eyes looked curious, and maybe a little sad too. Isla walked over and gave him a menu. "My name is Isla. If you want help picking something, just ask." "Actually," the man said, his voice gentle and calm, "I'd like whatever you think is the best thing here." Isla raised her eyebrow. That was interesting. "Well then, I say you should try the waffles with berries and our special coffee. You can't beat that combo." "Sounds perfect," he said with a smile, giving the menu back without even looking at it. As Isla walked away to give the order, she noticed how the man kept looking at everything in the diner. His eyes looked serious, like he was thinking about something important. When she came back with his food, he was talking on the phone. His voice was quiet, but Isla heard some of it. "Yes, that's exactly what I want. Set up a meeting with the owner soon," he said. Isla carefully placed the plate on the table, pretending she hadn't heard him. The man ended the call quickly and smiled at her. "Thank you," he said, looking right into her eyes. "Oh, I didn't tell you my name. I'm Elliot Quinn." "Nice to meet you, Mr. Quinn," Isla said, feeling a little strange now. "I hope you enjoy the coffee." Elliot took a sip and his eyes lit up. Wow, this really is special. After that day, Elliot came to the diner every day. He always sat at the same table, ordered the same food, and stayed for hours. Sometimes he worked on his laptop. Other times he just watched people and smiled. Isla couldn't stop thinking about him. There was something about Elliot. She felt like something big was going to happen soon, and it had something to do with him. About 2 weeks later, Isla came to work and saw her boss, Walter Bradford, looking worried. "Isla, sweetie, can we talk?" he said, waving her into his office. Her heart started beating fast. Walter Bradford had owned the Sunrise Diner for over 30 years. He was a kind man who treated everyone like family. "What's wrong?" Isla asked as she sat down. Walter Bradford gave a big sigh. "I got an offer to sell the diner. A really good offer. I think I have to take it." It felt like the floor disappeared under Isla's feet. The diner wasn't just her job, it was her home, her safe place. After years of moving around, she had found peace here. But you can't sell it," Isla cried. "This place is—" "I know, dear," Walter Bradford said gently. "Believe me, it's not easy. But Janet, my wife, is very sick. We need to be closer to our kids, and this money will help us a lot." Isla's eyes filled with tears. She understood, but it still hurt so much. Who made the offer?" she asked, scared to hear the answer. Walter Bradford waited a second, then said, "A businessman. Elliot Quinn." Isla felt like lightning had hit her. Suddenly it all made sense. The visits, the phone call, the way he looked around the diner. Elliot wasn't just a nice customer. He had planned this all along. Isla ran to the bathroom, locked the door, and cried. She felt mad, sad, and even a little betrayed. She had started to like talking to Elliot. He listened when she told him funny stories about the diner and the people who came in. After a few minutes, Isla washed her face and went back out. And there he was, Elliot Quinn, sitting at his table like nothing had happened. She walked up to him with a cold voice. "Your usual breakfast, Mr. Quinn?" Elliot looked up. He saw right away that something was wrong. "Isla, is everything okay?" he asked. "Perfectly fine," she said sharply. "Just wondering if I should start looking for a new job, or maybe the new owner wants to keep me." Elliot's eyes got big. "So, you know?" "Yes, I know," Isla said. Her voice shook a little. "What I don't know is why. Why pretend to be just a customer? Why not tell me from the beginning?" Elliot stood up. He looked sad and serious. "Isla, it's not what you think. But Isla was already walking away. Her heart was full of questions and fear. She couldn't listen anymore. The rest of the day was a blur. Illa smiled at customers, but it was just a mask. She wasn't really happy. Every time the bell rang, she thought it might be Elliot again, but he didn't come back. After her shift, Illa stepped into the cold night. The city lights shone, but everything felt dark. She walked home slowly, her thoughts spinning. What did Elliot really want with the diner, and why, even though she was mad, couldn't she stop thinking about him? She looked up at the stars. Tomorrow was a new day. Maybe it would bring answers, or more questions. But she knew one thing. Her life was about to change, and Elliot Quinn was part of that change. The next morning, the sky was gray and it rained gently. Isla's coat got wet as she walked to work. Her heart felt heavy. Then she saw someone standing outside the diner. It was Elliot Quinn. Isla's heart started to beat fast. She wanted to run away, but she knew she couldn't. Taking a deep breath, she walked up to him. "Mr. Quinn," she said. Her voice was calm, even though she felt so many emotions inside. "I didn't think I'd see you again so soon." Elliot looked at her with serious eyes. "Isla, I need to talk to you about yesterday, about everything. I need to explain." She waited a moment, then nodded. "Not out here in the rain. Let's go inside." Inside the diner, the smell of coffee and bread was still there, but it didn't make her feel better today. Everything was changing. She led Elliot to a table in the back, away from everyone else. "Talk," she said, crossing her arms. Elliot took a deep breath. His fingers tapped the table nervously. "First, I'm sorry," he said. "I never wanted to trick you." "Then what did you want?" Isla asked. "Because pretending to be a customer sure looks like a trick to me." "I wanted to learn about this place," Elliot said, "not just as a business, but as a home, for you, for everyone." He looked deep into her eyes. "I grew up in a small town like this. We had a diner like the Sunrise Diner. It was the heart of the town. When it closed, it felt like the town lost its soul." Isla's anger started to fade, just a little. "So what does that have to do with this diner?" she asked. "Everything," Elliot said with a small smile. "I made a lot of money in the business world, but something was missing. When I heard this diner might be for sale, I saw a chance, not just to buy something, but to save it." Isla shook her head, confused. "Then why didn't you just say that?" "Because," Elliot said, leaning forward, "I wanted to really understand it, to feel what made it special. And I wanted to get to know you, Isla, without you thinking I was just some rich buyer." Isla felt her cheeks get warm. She was surprised by how honest he was. "Why would I be so important?" she whispered. "Because you are the heart of this diner," Elliot said right away. "You take care of the people here. You make this place feel like home." Isla sat silently. Her thoughts were spinning. "And now," she asked, "what happens to the diner? What about the people who count on it?" Elliot smiled. "That depends on you, Isla. I don't want to just buy the place. I want to make it better. But I need help. I need someone who knows this place and cares about it." "You're offering me a job?" Isla asked. "I'm offering a partnership," Elliot said gently. "I want you to be my partner. You know the people, the food, the love this place needs. I can't do it without you." Isla was shocked. She didn't know what to say. Her heart was full of thoughts and feelings. Just then, the door opened. Walter Bradford walked in. He looked tired, but calm. His eyes got wide when he saw Isla and Elliot sitting together. Isla stood up quickly, still thinking about everything Elliot had said. Walter Bradford, the old landlord, The old landlord raised his hand to stop her from talking. "It's okay, Isla," he said gently. "In fact, I'm happy to see you two talking. Elliot here told me about what he wants to do with the place, and I have to say, I like his ideas." Elliot also stood up and reached out his hand to Walter Bradford. "Thank you for trusting me," he said. "I promise I'll take good care of this place." Isla watched them talk, feeling like she was in a dream. Everything was happening so fast. Just a day ago, she hadn't even thought about all these changes. "What about the other workers?" Isla suddenly asked. "Some of them have worked here for so long. What will happen to them?" Elliot looked at her with kind eyes. "Isla, I want to keep what makes this diner special, and that includes the people who work here. No one will be fired. In fact, we might even need to hire more people." Walter Bradford nodded and looked happy. "Elliot promised me that everyone's job is safe, and that's one reason why I agreed to his plan." Isla felt a little better, knowing that her friends at work wouldn't lose their jobs, but she still had many questions. I need some time," she said quietly. "This is a lot to think about." Elliot nodded. "Of course. Take all the time you need. But Isla, please think about my offer. I believe we can do something great together here." Isla grabbed her apron and put it on. "I'll think about it, but right now I need to work." As she walked to her station, Isla felt like Elliot and Walter Bradford were still watching her. Her world had completely changed in a few hours, and she still wasn't sure how she felt about it. As she worked that day, Isla couldn't stop thinking about their conversation. The idea of being a business partner was both exciting and scary, but there was something about Elliot that made her curious. When he talked about keeping the spirit of the diner, she felt like he meant it. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being tricked. Even if his intentions were good, she wasn't sure she could trust him yet. When her shift ended, Ela stepped outside into the cool Portland night. The sky was clear and the city lights sparkled in the distance. She wondered what it would be like to see the diner, all shiny and new, but still the same in some ways. "I'll make my decision tomorrow," Ela thought. "But for now, I need to sleep and think it over." The next morning, Isla woke up feeling tired from tossing and turning all night. Her mind was full of thoughts about Elliot's offer and what it would mean for her future. When she looked in the bathroom mirror, she saw something new in her eyes: determination. On the way to work, the road seemed longer than usual. Every step felt like she was walking towards something big. When she finally arrived at the Sunrise Diner, she saw Elliot standing outside, looking anxious but hopeful. "Good morning, Isla," he said softly. "I hope I'm not rushing you." Ella took a deep breath and smiled. "No, it's okay. I've made my decision. I'm ready to give you an answer." Elliot's face lit up, but he waited for her to continue. "I accept," Isla said firmly, though there was a little hesitation in her voice. "But I have a few conditions." Elliot smiled. "Of course, anything. Let's go inside and talk about it." They walked inside the diner, where it was still quiet, and sat down at a table at the back. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air as a cook began preparing for the day. "So, what are your conditions?" Elliot asked, leaning forward. Isla straightened up, feeling braver than before. "First, I want a written guarantee that no one will lose their job unless it's for a good reason. These people are like family to me." Elliot nodded quickly. "Absolutely, we can put that in the agreement." "Second," Isla said, "I want to say in all the big decisions. I don't want to just be a face people recognize while you make all the choices. I want to be involved." "That's fair," Elliot agreed. "That's exactly why I want you as a partner. You know this place and your input is important." Isla took a deep breath and added her last condition. "Third, I want to understand everything about the business, not just your good intentions, but also the money side. I want to see the numbers and understand the plan." For a moment, Elliot looked surprised, but then he smiled. "Ela, you continue to impress me. Of course, you'll have access to all of that. I'd expect nothing less from a partner. With the conditions set, they spent the next hour going over everything. Elliot explained his plans for the diner. He wanted to keep its welcoming feel, but also make it better, expand the menu, and maybe even open more locations in Portland. Isla felt excited and nervous. The future was full of possibilities, but also a little scary. When the first customers arrived, she knew it was time to start her shift. I think we need to talk more later, Ela said as she stood up. Elliot agreed. How about we meet after your shift? We can go somewhere quiet to discuss more details. Isla nodded. There's a cafe a few blocks away. Let's meet there at 6. Perfect, Elliot said with a smile. I can't wait. After her shift, Isla went to the cafe. She saw Elliot sitting at a table with papers spread out in front of him. I see you came ready, Ela said as she sat down. I thought you might need coffee. Elliot smiled, pushing a cup toward her. And yes, I wanted to go over the numbers with you. For the next 90 minutes, they looked through the business plan, financial projections, and spreadsheets. Elliot patiently explained everything. Isla was surprised to find that she understood more than she thought. Working at the diner all these years had given her a good sense for business. This is a lot, Isla said, leaning back in her chair. I know, Elliot agreed, but we'll do it together. I don't expect you to become an expert right away. Isla smiled, feeling more confident. So what's next? Well, Elliot said, I think it's time to make it official. Tomorrow we'll meet with my lawyer to sign the partnership agreement. Then we can start making the Sunrise Diner everything we dreamed of. Isla laughed. When you first came to the diner, I never imagined we'd be here. Life is full of surprises, Elliot said with a grin. As they left the cafe, Isla felt excited and nervous at the same time. Tomorrow, everything would change. She wasn't sure what the future held, but she knew it was going to be an adventure. The next day, they went to a lawyer's office. The room was very different from the diner. It felt cold and formal, and Isla felt out of place in her dressy blouse. Elliot noticed and whispered, Are you okay? Isla nodded. I'm just nervous. I've never signed something so important before. A lawyer named Mr. Hawthorne came in and sat down. He had a big briefcase and started going over the details of the agreement. For the next 2 hours, they read through everything carefully. Isla was impressed by how thorough Elliot was. He had included all her conditions and even things she hadn't thought of. When they were done, the lawyer smiled. I think we're ready to sign. Any questions? Isla looked at Elliot, who smiled and nodded. Isla took a deep breath and said, No, I'm ready. With a little shake in her hands, Isla signed the paper. Elliot signed too, and the lawyer put his official stamp on the document. Congratulations, he said. You're now officially partners. Isla felt like she was floating as she left the office. Partner, she whispered to herself. How about we celebrate? Elliot asked. Isla laughed. I think we should, but not at some fancy restaurant. How about the Sunrise Diner? Perfect, Elliot said. When they got to the diner, the staff looked at them curiously. No one knew yet about the change in ownership. Isla took a deep breath and stood up. It's time to tell them, she said. Elliot smiled and called everyone's attention. We have an important announcement to make, he said, his voice clear and strong. The next few minutes, Isla and Elliot told the team about the changes coming to the diner. Some people looked surprised, some were confused, and others, like Mila, one of the older waitresses, seemed excited. So, nothing's going to change? Mila asked. Some things will change, Isla said honestly. But the heart of the Sunrise Diner, the people who make this place special, will stay the same. After the announcement, Isla and Elliot sat down to eat together. They talked about their plans for the future. I was thinking, Elliot said, taking a bite of his waffle, maybe we could start with some small changes. We could get better equipment for the kitchen. Isla nodded. She was already thinking about what else could improve the diner. What if we expanded the coffee menu? A lot of customers have asked for more options. They spent the next hour talking about ideas for the diner. Elliot was so excited, and Isla felt her own excitement grow too. But as the evening went on, Isla started to feel a little nervous. She looked around at the regular customers who were laughing and talking, just like always. She felt a knot in her stomach. "Elliot," she said softly, interrupting him, "do you think we're doing the right thing?" He stopped talking and looked at her with concern. "What do you mean?" Isla looked around. "All these changes, what if we lose what makes this place special? What if trying to make things better actually ruins them?" Elliot was quiet for a moment. He thought about what Isla said. "I understand your worry," he said gently. "I have my own worries too, but we're doing this together. Your love for this place is what will keep us on the right path." His words made Isla feel a little better, but she was still unsure. "Promise me one thing," she said, looking at him. "If we ever feel like we're losing what's special about this place, we'll stop and rethink everything. Promise me you'll listen if I say something doesn't feel right." "I promise," Elliot said, without hesitation. "This partnership is built on trust, Isla. Your feelings and knowledge about this place are just as important as any business plan I can make." That night, after a long day of planning, Isla felt tired but excited. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for the first time in a long time, she felt ready to face them. The Sunrise Diner was more than just a job to her. It was a family. And now, with Elliot by her side, she had a chance to make it even better. The next morning, Isla arrived early at the Sunrise Diner. The cool air made her feel nervous but excited. Today was the day when the first changes would happen. As she opened the door, she smelled the usual fresh coffee, but there was something new in the air. The smell of fresh paint. "Morning, boss," Grayson, the head cook, called out excitedly from the kitchen. Isla wasn't used to being called boss yet. "Morning, Grayson," she replied, hanging up her coat. "How's everything going in the kitchen?" Grayson came into the doorway with a big smile. "That new oven is amazing. I can't wait to try out some new recipes we talked about." Isla smiled. It was good to see the team excited about the changes. Over the past few weeks, she and Elliot had been working hard to make small changes, always asking the team and regular customers for their ideas. Just then, Elliot walked in with a box. "Good morning, partner," he said with a grin. "I've got a surprise for you." Isla was curious. Elliot opened the box to reveal brand new aprons for the staff. The aprons had the diner's logo on them. "They're beautiful," Isla said, touching the soft fabric. The morning passed quickly, and customers started to arrive. Some of them were surprised by the changes, but most of them seemed happy. But not everything went smoothly. The new digital ordering system that Elliot had pushed for was confusing for some of the older staff. "I don't get this thing," Mila, one of the waitresses, complained, holding up a tablet. "Why can't we just use paper orders like before?" Isla felt worried. She had been hesitant about changing so much too quickly, but Elliot had insisted that they needed to modernize. "Let me help you, Mila," Isla said, trying to show her how to use the tablet. But as she explained, she noticed some customers giving disapproving looks. The new system wasn't working well. As the day went on, more problems started to happen. The new menu was too big, and the kitchen couldn't keep up. Orders were taking longer than usual, and everyone seemed stressed. During a quiet moment, Elliot pulled Isla aside. "Things seem a little tense," he said, looking worried. Isla sighed, rubbing her head. "I think we tried to do too much all at once. The staff is stressed, and the customers are getting impatient." Elliot didn't expect this. "But these changes are necessary, Isla. We need to modernize to grow." "I know," Ella said, "but maybe we need to slow down. Let people get used to the changes before we go too far." Just then, a loud crash came from the kitchen. Both of them rushed to see what happened. They found Grayson surrounded by broken dishes. He looked frustrated. "I can't keep up with all the new dishes," he said. "The new system, it's too much." Isla's heart sank. Grayson had always been calm in the kitchen, so seeing him like this meant things were really tough. "It's okay, Grayson," Isla said softly, helping him stand up. "We'll fix this." Turning to Elliot, Isla said, "I think we need to rethink some things." Elliot nodded, his face serious. "You're right. Maybe I got too excited about all the changes." That day, they worked hard to fix the problems. Isla went around talking to customers, while Elliot worked with the staff to fix the new system. When the diner closed that night, everyone was tired. Ela gathered the team together. "Thank you for all your hard work today," Isla said. "I know it's been tough. We made some mistakes. We tried to do too much too fast, and we're sorry for that." Elliot added, "Starting tomorrow, we'll go back to the old paper ordering system and make the menu simpler. We'll also move more slowly with the changes from now on." Everyone sighed in relief, but Isla added, "We won't give up on improving. We'll just do it slowly, step by step, and we'll listen to you every step of the way." After the meeting, Isla and Elliot stayed behind, sitting at one of the tables. "You know," Elliot said after a long pause, "when I bought this place, I thought I knew exactly what it would take to make it more successful." Isla looked at him, surprised. "But today," Elliot continued, "I learned that true success isn't just about the numbers or modernizing. It's about the people, the community we've built here." Ela smiled. "That's why we make a good team. You have the ideas for the future, and I know the heart of this place." They spent the next hour talking about the future, but this time with a new perspective. They thought about how each change would affect the staff and the customers, not just how it would make money. When they left the diner that night, the moon was high in the sky. Ela looked up at the Sunrise Diner sign, which now glowed softly in the dark. "Tomorrow is a new day," she said, remembering what Elliot had said weeks ago. He laughed. "And we'll face it together, step by step." As they walked to their homes, Isla thought about the day. It had been hard, but it had taught her a lot. She'd learned about leadership, teamwork, and what real change means. She knew that with Elliot by her side, they could make the Sunrise Diner even better. A few weeks later, Isla arrived at the diner on a sunny Saturday morning. When she saw a long line of customers outside, she felt nervous. "What's going on?" she asked Mrs. Peterson, a regular customer. "We're here to try the new Saturday breakfast special," Mrs. Peterson said, smiling brightly. "It looks delicious." Isla was surprised. She and Elliot had just come up with the idea for a Saturday breakfast special. In High, it was a way to test new menu items without changing everything at once. Inside, Elliot was helping Grayson get ready for the busy morning. "It looks like we've got a hit on our hands," Isla said, smiling. "I told you it would work," Elliot said, his eyes shining. "People love new things as long as we don't mess with their old favorites too much." The new Saturday menu was a big success. The team worked well together, and the new ordering system with paper backup worked smoothly. Isla was looking around the cafeteria. It was full of people, talking and laughing. In one corner, a group of teenagers were taking selfies with their big, colorful milkshakes. In another corner, an older couple was sharing a piece of traditional apple pie, which they had asked to keep on the menu because they loved it. "It's quite a sight, isn't it?" Elliot's voice made Isla look away from the scene. He was standing next to her, also watching with a happy look on his face. Isla nodded and said, "It's amazing how we found a balance, new ideas and old traditions living together." Elliot then grew more serious. "Speaking of new ideas," he said, "there's something I want to talk to you about." They walked to a small office in the back, a place they both shared now. Elliot closed the door behind them and sat down. He looked both excited and a little worried. "I got an interesting proposal yesterday," he said. "A restaurant chain heard about the changes we've made here and really liked what we're doing." Ela felt a little worried. "What kind of proposal?" she asked. "They want us to expand," Elliot said quickly. "They want us to open more Sunrise Diner locations in other parts of the city and maybe even in other towns." For a moment, they were both quiet. The idea was big, and Ila's mind was full of different thoughts and feelings. I don't know what to say, she finally said. This is a big decision. I know, Elliot added Quinn. I didn't even want to think about it until I talked to you. We're partners in this, Isla. Your opinion matters. Isla stood up and walked to the window of the office, looking down at the main hall. She could see Mila laughing with some regular customers and Grayson coming out of the kitchen with a plate of food, smiling proudly. Elliot, Ela said, turning to face him. When you first came here, you talked about keeping the soul of this place, about making sure it stayed special. Elliot nodded, remembering those words. Isla continued, if we expand, how can we make sure each new location has that same feeling? It's not just about the food or the decorations. It's about the people, the connections, the stories that happen here every day. Elliot thought for a moment. You're right, he said. It wouldn't be easy, but what if we could do it? What if we could bring that special feeling to other places and let more people experience it? Ela felt torn. Part of her liked the idea of growing and sharing what they had built with more people. But another part of her worried about losing the personal touch that made Sunrise Diner special. We don't have to decide now, Elliot said softly. It's just an idea for now. We can think about it, talk to the team, maybe even ask our regular customers what they think. Isla nodded slowly. You're right. We shouldn't rush. We've learned that lesson already. They smiled, remembering how chaotic things had been when they first started. Let's explore the idea, Isla finally said. But let's do it carefully, and if at any point we feel like we're losing what makes this place special, we can stop. Elliot added Quinn. Together, he said, and they shook hands. When they went back into the main hall, Isla looked around with new eyes. Every table, every customer, and every member of the team made Sunrise Diner what it was. The idea of spreading that feeling to other places was exciting, but also a little scary. The rest of the day went by in a blur. Ela served customers, talked to the staff, and solved problems, but she kept thinking about her conversation with Elliot. Later, as the last customer left and they began cleaning up, Ela gathered the team together. Guys, she began, exchanging a look with Elliot, there's something we want to talk to you about. It's just an idea right now, but we want to know what you think. She explained the idea of expanding, and she could see that everyone had different reactions. Some were surprised, some excited, and some worried. We're not making any decisions yet, Elliot added. We want you all to be part of this process. Sunrise Diner is as much yours as it is ours. The discussion that followed was lively. People shared their ideas and concerns. Isla felt proud of how much her team had grown. They were like a family, all united by their love for Sunrise Diner. Later, as Ela closed the diner, she stood for a moment, taking in the quiet. The smell of coffee and apple pie still lingered in the air, mixed with the smell of new recipes. She thought about all the changes they had made, the challenges they had faced, and the victories they had celebrated. The idea of expanding was just another part of their journey. With a smile, Isla turned off the lights and stepped outside into the cool Portland night. The future was uncertain, but there was one thing she was sure of. As long as they kept the heart of Sunrise Diner alive, as long as they kept valuing people and connections, they could face whatever came next. Sunrise Diner would bring new possibilities and maybe even the start of a new chapter. Isla couldn't wait to see what the future would bring. 6 months later, autumn had come to Portland, bringing beautiful colors and cool air. Sunrise Diner was about to face its biggest challenge yet. Isla stood in front of an empty building in the Hawthorne neighborhood, a few miles from the original diner. The sign above the door was still covered, but Isla knew it said Sunrise Diner Hawthorne. It was hard to believe that in just 1 week, this empty space would become their second Sunrise Diner. Elliot walked up to her with 2 cups of coffee. "Penny for your thoughts?" he asked. Isla smiled and took the coffee, just trying to take it all in. It feels like just yesterday we were talking about whether we should expand. I know, Elliot said, looking at the building. It's been quite a journey, but look how far we've come in such a short time. They had worked hard to get to this point, doing research, finding the right location, talking with landlords and suppliers. It had all been tough, but it was also a chance to learn. Let's take a look inside, Elliot said, already walking toward the door. Inside, workers were busy, turning the empty space into the cozy diner they had imagined. Isla could see the long, shiny counter, the booths, and the open kitchen where customers could watch the chefs cook. It's amazing how much it's starting to look like the original, but still different, Isla said, running her hand over one of the new tables. That was the plan, Elliot said. We wanted to keep the heart of Sunrise Diner, but also make each place unique. As they were finishing up the last details with the construction manager, Isla's phone rang. It was Mila from the original diner. Isla, we have a bit of a problem, Mila said, sounding worried. The new chef we hired to replace Grayson, he kind of collapsed in the kitchen. Isla felt a pinch of guilt. Grayson, who had worked as their chef for many years, had been promoted to manage both locations. His absence was being felt more than they had expected. I'm on my way, Isla said, already heading out. Can you handle things here? I've got it, Elliot said, understanding. Go ahead. The drive back to the original diner felt longer than usual. Isla kept thinking about the challenges they were facing. Expanding the diner wasn't just about managing money and resources. It was about keeping the community they had built strong and personal. When Isla arrived at the diner, the kitchen was in chaos. The new chef, Jasper, was sitting in a corner, looking very tired and defeated. Jasper, Isla said gently, walking over to him. What happened? I can't do it, Jasper said, looking up with red eyes. I thought I could fill Grayson's shoes, but it's too much. The pressure, the expectations. Isla's heart went out to him. She remembered how hard it had been for her when she had taken on more responsibility. Jasper, listen, she said, sitting down next to him. Nobody expects you to be Grayson. We want you to be yourself, with your own style and ideas. Over the next few minutes, Isla helped calm Jasper down and organize the kitchen. She called Grayson on video for advice, and together they got everything back on track. When the crisis was over, Isla felt exhausted but proud. It had been a reminder of how tough it could be to grow a place like Sunrise Diner while keeping its special feeling. That night, after the diner had closed, Isla called a team meeting. Elliot joined them, having finished his work at the new location. Today has been an interesting day, Isla began, looking at the team. There was some tired laughter, but it was also an important day. She paused. It reminded us of something important. Sunrise Diner isn't just a place. It's not just the food or the decorations. It's all of us, Elliot added. What Isla is saying is that as we grow, we need to remember what brought us here. We're not just expanding a business, we're expanding a family. Jasper, still looking a bit shaken, spoke up. I want to apologize for what happened today. I'll try harder. Grayson, who had arrived in the middle of the meeting, put a hand on Jasper's shoulder. Hey kid, don't be so hard on yourself. Remember how long it took me to get that waffle recipe just right. We're all learning here. The tension in the room disappeared, replaced by a sense of teamwork. The team shared ideas, concerns, and even some jokes. When the meeting ended, Isla felt a renewed sense of determination. Yes, the expansion was tough, and there would be hard days ahead, but looking at the team, she knew they had what it took to succeed. Later, as she and Elliot were closing the diner, he turned to her with a tired but happy smile. You know, when I started all this, I thought it was just about business, but you've shown me that it's much more than that, Elliot said. Isla smiled back. It's about connections. It's about creating a place where people feel at home, no matter where they are. They stepped outside into the cool fall evening. The air felt fresh and exciting, and they both knew that something amazing was about to happen. The next week would bring the grand opening of their new diner, which was a big step in their journey. But right now, as they looked at the diner that had become so much more than just a place to work, Isla felt very thankful. No matter how much they grew or how many challenges they faced, the heart of Sunrise Diner would stay the same. It would always be a place for community and connection. With one last look at the diner's familiar sign, Isla and Elliot said goodbye, each going their separate ways. But they both shared the same dream and knew they were building something special together. The future was uncertain, but with their team by their side, they were ready to face whatever came their way. The day of the grand opening of the new Sunrise Diner in Hawthorne arrived. The sky was clear and the sun shone bright as if the universe was cheering them on. Isla woke up even before the alarm clock went off. Her heart was pounding with excitement and a little bit of nervousness. She got to the original diner early and found Elliot already there, making sure everything was ready for the big day. "How are you feeling?" he asked, his usual confidence showing a little bit of nervousness. Isla took a deep breath and said, "As ready as I can be. It's strange, you know? It feels like we're sending our kid off to college." Elliot laughed, the tension in his shoulders easing a bit. "I know what you mean. But hey, we raised a great kid, didn't we?" They spent the next hour running around, making sure everything was perfect for both locations. Grayson went back and forth between the kitchens, making sure everything was just right in both places. Jasper, who was feeling more confident after the incident the week before, led the team at the original diner with a new sense of purpose. At 9 a.m. sharp, Isla and Elliot stood in front of the new unit in Hawthorne and ready to cut the ribbon. A small crowd had gathered, loyal customers from the original diner, curious people from the neighborhood, and even a few local reporters. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elliot said, his voice strong even though he looked nervous, "today is not just the opening of a new diner. It's the continuation of a story about community, family, and good meals shared." Isla stepped forward. "Sunrise Diner has always been more than just a place to eat. It's a home away from home for many of you, and we promise that this new diner will have the same spirit." Together they cut the ribbon and the doors opened. The crowd cheered and clapped. The first customers came in, their eyes wide with wonder at how beautiful the new diner was. It felt just like the original diner, but with a special touch that fit Hawthorne perfectly. The next few hours were a whirlwind. Isla found herself running between the two diners, making sure everything went smoothly. In Hawthorne, she saw families sitting in the new booths, enjoying familiar dishes and new menu items inspired by the neighborhood. At the original diner, old customers shared stories about Sunrise Diner with the new faces who were curious about all the excitement. In the middle of the afternoon, after a long but happy day, Isla finally got a moment to sit down. She picked a table in the new diner and watched everything around her. Elliot joined her, holding 2 cups of coffee. "So," he said, handing her a cup, "what do you think? Did we make it?" Isla took a sip, enjoying the warmth and the smell of the coffee. She looked around at the happy customers, hearing the laughter and conversations and watching the kitchen staff work perfectly together like they had been doing this for years. "You know," she said, smiling, "when you first showed up at the diner, all dressed up and clearly out of your element, I never imagined we'd get here." Elliot laughed. "I have to admit, I didn't know what I was getting into either. I thought it would just be a good investment, but it turned out to be so much more." Isla's eyes filled with tears of gratitude. "You changed my life, Elliot, not just with the business, but you gave me the chance to dream bigger and do something meaningful." "No," Elliot said softly. "We changed our lives together. You taught me the true value of community. Without you, this would just be another restaurant." without a heart. Just then, the door opened and someone walked in. It was Walter Bradford, the former owner of the original Sunrise Diner. "Walter Bradford!" Isla exclaimed, standing up to greet him. "What a wonderful surprise!" Walter Bradford smiled and looked around the diner with excitement. "I couldn't miss the grand opening. My goodness, look at this place. It's amazing." Elliot joined them, shaking Walter Bradford's hand. "This is only possible because of the foundation you built, sir. The Sunrise Diner will always be your legacy." They talked for a few minutes, sharing stories and laughs. When Walter Bradford finally left to explore the rest of the diner, Ela felt a wave of emotion. "We're really doing this, aren't we?" she asked, turning to Elliot. "It's not just a dream or a plan anymore. It's real." Elliot nodded, his eyes full of determination. "And this is just the beginning. Think of all the communities we can help. Think of all the stories we can be a part of." At that moment, Isla could see the future clearly. Not just one or two diners, but a chain of Sunrise diners, each one unique and special to its community, but all with the same spirit of welcome and connection. The rest of the day was filled with celebrations, little challenges to overcome, and moments of pure happiness. When it was time to close, Isla gathered everyone from both locations for a toast. "To the Sunrise Diner family," she said, raising her coffee cup. "Old and new, we are all part of something special." Elliot joined her. "To the future, may we continue to grow, learn, and serve our communities with the same love and dedication that brought us here." As everyone toasted, Isla felt complete. She looked at Elliot, the man who had started as a stranger and now was her partner, her friend. The lights of Portland twinkled against the night sky, and the city felt full of endless possibilities. Two cozy diners were ready to welcome a new day, ready to serve not just meals, but moments, memories, and connections. Isla smiled to herself. The millionaire had bought the diner to be close to her, yes, but in the process, they had built something much bigger than either of them had imagined. It wasn't just about power or control. It was about creating a legacy, making a difference in people's lives, one cup of coffee at a time. As she closed the doors of the new diner, Isla took one last look at the cozy interior. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new stories, and new possibilities. She couldn't wait to face them with her Sunrise Diner family by her side. Sunrise was just beginning, and the future had never looked brighter. Thanks for watching. If you like the story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Check out our other videos too. See you in the next one.